What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Worldly Church Girl. It's your girl, your host, Lillian Harshaw. On today's show, I have a young lady who's not only beautiful on the outside, but a true beauty on the inside. She is doing such a courageous work that she deserves more than a crown. It gives me great honor to introduce to you Miss Tieree Reid. From New Orleans to Indianapolis, you have seen and done a lot in your lifetime. You are an educator, a counselor, a certified coach, a lobbyist, and you have served on so many local communities local committees and boards that I don't even see how you even had time to even do this podcast, but I thank you. I truly thank you. No, I appreciate you. And with all that being said, how do you even have time for you? Just for you?
That's a great question. I work on it. I schedule myself. I try to schedule myself. It's like paying your tithes. You're supposed to do it first. And so it's a challenge, honestly, because I try to remind myself to make sure that I put myself on the agenda. And some of that may be making sure I go to the gym to work out. And so there's a drop-in center there, and I'm now comfortable with that because it's usually the same moms that drop their children off. And so we do that. And then I don't just finish working out and then go get her and go run to the next thing. I do budget in a little bit of time where I can just sit if I need to and do nothing or take care of a task. And so that's what I try to do. Sometimes that's not the case. So like last week, I missed myself by the time I got to Friday. I was so well spent because I realized I had budget every minute with my daughter, with my husband, with everything else that I had not taken time with myself. And so I really missed me by the time I got to Friday. But I really do try to intentionally put myself on my own agenda.
You know, it's funny you even said that. You know, on my vision board, that is like one of my things that I have on there is every day make time to do something just for me.
Yes,
Something.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't care if it is, it's just sitting there and watch a 30-minute television show. Something.
Absolutely. Because one of the things that I realized, because I started like a self-love journey last year that I've been on for, well, actually 2019, I've been on for now over a year,
Mhm.
is that even when we go, ladies will go and get their nails done. They might be on the cell phone talking to this person and not really present with yourself. And so I have started putting the cell phone away and just enjoying getting my nails done or getting my feet done, so that I can be recharged and renewed. Because what it ends up being is a task. Another thing that I have to do, even taking care of myself is a task, it's a chore. And so I've tried to, whenever I'm doing these self-care things, to not make them task oriented and be present with myself in that moment. So
That's true. That is very true. If when I do get the toes worked on, I'm still working.
yes.
Can't really do too much with my nails because then my nail tech look at me like, please stop. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That is very true. Now you mentioned the workout thing. I want to
Mhm.
bring up that you used to be, or you are you still a Zumba instructor?
I don't teach any classes right now, but I still, am have a certificate to do the Zumba. I love to dance. I love dancing. I love Zumba though. It's so much fun. It's really not about choreography as much as it is just losing yourself in the music.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Ain't that it?
Yep. That's it.
Gotta keep that body moving.
You do. Yep. And this month is there's a lot of awareness going about heart awareness for women. and I'm actually considering putting together a little video of me doing some moves to encourage women to move this month and for the rest of your life to keep your heart healthy.
Oh, you should. Now, where are you going to put that on? Are you going to put it on Facebook, Instagram?
Probably Facebook.
You're not going to put it on Instagram? You should put it on Instagram too, because
I'll
everybody's
put
doing something on Instagram.
that is so true.
Some
That's
kind
true.
of
I'll load it to
reel or
Instagram
something.
as well.
Yeah, and let me know, because I'm going to check it out. I'm going to share it.
Okay.
Now, it seems like in your journey in that you uh, have done a lot of things in your life and have been through a lot of things in your life.
Hmm.
And the biggest thing that you've been through was pregnancy loss.
Hmm.
And you've turned that into not only your testimony, but into a work. Can you share that with everybody?
Yes, I can. It's one of the many things that I have been through in my life, and I believe that God chose this time for me to um, talk about it, because honestly, I hadn't talked about it to anybody over the last 10 plus years. But I had an ectopic pregnancy that exploded, and it went undetected, which many of them do. But however, I did bring up concerns with my doctor that I felt movement is how I described it. Activity was one of the things I used, and I thought that I was pregnant in my tubes, but my HGC, believe it is, levels were at the right place according to her. So she didn't think that I was, but I was, and so my tube exploded. Was no saving it. Um, and when the paramedics, when they came to get me, I remember my niece was there, and I have to always say that my niece was there because I had a young girl present as my only help, and so she called 911. They came in, and I'm on all fours and I was in excruciating pain.
Mm.
And then they loaded me up into the ambulance, and they're just doing their thing. They're talking and they're laughing, and I'm in pain. And I tell them, I had a miscarriage, and they're like, "Oh no, you're fine," and I know what's going on in my body. And I will say, women, we know what's going on with our body, and we have to advocate for ourselves, regardless to what's going on. And I didn't do that as much. I did it enough, but I could have done more. So once I got to the hospital, I checked in. I had my emergency stuff. My niece had my insurance information, everything to give to the people. However, they refused my insurance. They refused to take it. They had me sitting in that emergency room for an extended period of time. I finally asked my niece to grab my cell phone so I can call my primary physician. And when I called her, I said to her that I'm being discriminated against, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not being treated, and I'm going to die in here if somebody doesn't come and see about me. And so she requested to have a specialist to come in, and then they sent me in to have an ultrasound. The ultrasound tech, she was all, smiling, and she was nice to me. And she was, talking about the baby that, she thought was there. And then
Mm-hmm.
when she put the device on my stomach to be able to see the baby, it was all she saw was abdomen full of blood, and her face just went cold. And so from there, that was the last thing I remembered. There was surgery, woke up the next morning to some very disrespectful and nasty nurses who were very rude to me because I could not do the exercises they have you do to get up and walk around to show that you are healing properly. I could
Mm-hmm.
not do that. And they thought, they treated me as if I was lying. And so the doctor, I didn't know who he was. He decided that he would come by just to see me, because he turned over to the hospital just to come and see me before I was discharged, just so he could know where I was, and then if I wanted to follow up with him, I could. And so he came by, and I shared with him what I shared with the nurses, and I remember, he had labs ran, but I remember him coming back into the room and saying to me that I should have died because I needed a massive blood transfusion. When
Mm.
he operated hours after I had been there with intake information. And so I could have died. One, and a type of pregnancy could kill you, period. But then I could have died because of their negligence. And so it was very traumatic experience that I kept in the inside for a lot of shame. And then how I'm conditioned to just, weather the storm of life. And then I'm naturally a very private person. And so when I decided to be a part of this pageant, and I was thinking about, what's my platform going to be? And I'm an educator, it could have been education. I do diversity and inclusion training. I also do leadership training. All of that would have been very easy. However, what brought me to being a part of a pageant was my daughter, and wanting to make sure that she knew that she was enough, and that she could live the most freeing life that is possible. And that was something that I felt like I was still in bondage about. It was still affecting me, and I was still grieving privately. And so I said, I'm going to choose that first, to minister to myself, second, to help other people. And I said yes to God, but honestly, when I said yes, I did not see Whirly Girl Church Girl in the future and me on a podcast telling everybody my business. I didn't see
Right.
that.
Right.
And sometimes, I was actually just sharing that in a seminar that I was doing at my church, that we sometimes just need to give God a yes and not think about step 2, 3, 4, and 5, because we'll talk
Mm-hmm.
ourselves out of it. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Every
so
time.
I amen. And I'm thankful. I'm very thankful, because I could talk about it and not fall apart and cry, and not because of cry and despair, but just talking about it, like, how could anyone go through this type of situation? So I'm just very thankful to the Mrs. Indiana American pageant for giving me this opportunity. But I'm thankful to my Lord and Savior for pushing me and to put myself out there.
Yes, because as I shared with you on my live, I never told anybody,
Yeah.
what happened to me when
Yes.
I just graduated from high school, and I've never been with anybody before, and
Yeah.
decided that I was going to do something, be grown, and um, got pregnant, and um, ended up having a miscarriage, but for about 3 months, maybe four, the first month they heard the heartbeat, and second month the heartbeat was very faint, but around towards they were just was like, well, maybe the baby moved, then that's it's fine, that's normal. And then we didn't hear a heartbeat at all, and they was like, well, maybe the baby moved, and we'll hear it next month. They just kind of just kept pushing me to the side.
Yeah.
And then they found out, well, we'll do an ultrasound. And then when they was like, oh, well, okay, well, kind of like, oh, well, either you'll pass it or give us a call in a couple weeks, and then we'll schedule for a DNC. But still pushed to the side. Just
Yes.
no real compassion, no real anything. and
Yes.
and just I was devastated. I was no, like, here's a pamphlet to help you to cope with this, and no, those, I talked to a counselor about your situation, and none of that. I didn't have those options.
I didn't
And
have those
was
options
it
either.
was it was it because I was black? Maybe. Because I was young? Possibly.
Yeah.
Both, probably. you
Yes.
know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just another statistic, young black girl. But my mother was a nurse. My daddy was a veteran. But he was in the workforce. So it wasn't like I was just some ratchet girl that just didn't know any better. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
So, but it was traumatizing.
Absolutely. And everything in your story is the signs of today, and this push and legislation for better health care for mothers, black moms, because there
Hmm.
were so many warning signs in your pregnancy that they really should have paid attention to for you, not being able to truly hear the baby heartbeat and stuff. And so, that's tragic. All of that is tragic. And having to carry a baby that has passed away, and then they tell you that you're going to pass it,
Yeah.
as if, it's a baby, that's very difficult and stuff. And that's very difficult. And you've probably grown attached to your baby and thought
Mm.
about how your baby's going to grow up. Um, that's
How
traumatic.
had the idea, put the nursery and this, then, and then what makes it even worse is how the community treats you after
Yes.
the fact too.
Yes.
The
Absolutely.
well, you get the well, it's probably for the best community. You
Yes.
get the "will get over it" group,
Yes. Yes.
and you get the even the God's will group. Maybe it
Yes.
is God's will, but still, I'm still dealing with a lot of pain, people.
Yes.
Or you just get the callous people like, oh well, and it's messy.
It
or
really is.
or you get just the cold-hearted people. I actually have people like um have newborn babies and try to force me to hold them.
Yes. Absolutely. And
And
and and if you had been miscarrying in the hospital, you probably would have been on the postpartum ward or in the labor and delivery ward, with other women who have had kids, and you get to hear those babies crying
mhm,
and those parents. That's traumatic. That's
enjoy,
traumatizing.
yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah,
very traumatizing.
yeah. So what are the biggest misconceptions people have about women who do go through this?
That you can bounce back and you can replace a kid, and that you can get over it. I think that's one of the big misconceptions about people who have miscarriages, that something is wrong with them medically, not knowing that this is something that occurs a lot. 1 in 4 pregnancies end in a miscarriage. Stillborn issues is an issue. It's about 24,000 stillborn babies each year, and there are about, I think, 3,500 sleep related incidents of infants dying. And so there is a maternal health crisis in America, and it continues to get worse. And COVID-19 didn't do anything better with it. And so it's not the fact that something is wrong with this woman. Some women do have issues that prevent them from being able to get pregnant, but oftentimes it has nothing to do with the woman at all. Um, but this idea that a child can be replaced, that you should absolutely get over it, that is not the case for many people. Maybe for some, but not for many people. And then some of the things that you talked about, the things that people say, whether they are well intended statements from loving people, or if it's malicious intent, the outcome often is the same. And if, for those who are listening that are well intended individuals, the last thing that we want to do is to create more grief and isolation for that mom or that dad, where that grief turns into despair, to the place of suicide or detachment from God, or themselves, whatever the case may be, or substance abuse. We don't want that to happen. And that is very, very possible, that can happen in grief. I don't think that people really, one of the misconceptions, I think that people don't realize that when you get pregnant, and you begin to love that child, you've loved that child until the day they die, and that in your head is 100, 200 years. Okay. And so you've probably planned out their wedding, you've planned out their going to college or not going to college, you've planned out your first fight as mother and daughter and what you're going to wear. You planned it all out. And so when you lose that child, you lose all of those things, like a divorce, like being, widowed, like losing a parent out of term. I mean, it is one of the most tragic things that could happen to an individual. And so I don't think people take into consideration of that attachment that happens. And you don't stop unconditional love. You don't stop loving simply because God designed it where that child would not come into this world. The child had purpose, and the purpose might have been for 1 day, 3 weeks, 3 months. There still was purpose in that life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now you mentioned But we both mentioned people and what they should
Yes,
or shouldn't do.
absolutely.
What advice would you give to people of how to console someone in that situation?
Someone, if you know, so there's the two things, if you know, and then there's also if you don't know. There are things that are said in society that just should never be said because you don't know. But if you do know, words can never express what you're going through, because even if we've been through the same thing, we don't handle it the same way. It didn't hit us the same exact way. It's different. And so just honoring that person's experience as their own is one thing that you can do. Talk about it. Don't be silent. Tell me about your child. What did you name your baby? Let them get to a place of being able to share the good things about the baby moving or whatever the case may be, if that's the place where they are. Just being there for them. After a person has had a loss and they're in grief, they are going to need care. They will need food afterwards. So make some food for them and bring it over. Don't ask them, what do you need? Now they have to figure out what they need on top of everything else is going on
Mm-hmm.
in mind, them blaming themselves or whatever the case may be. But just being active and present in that person's life is so important. And then the other part, if you don't know, because there's a lot of if you don't know, because this is really private, unless if the person shared with everybody that they were pregnant. A lot of time people don't know for miscarriage, stillbirth, maybe something else, neonatal death, if you do know, that applies to that. But if you don't know, one thing I post on my Facebook, try not to say to someone, you don't understand because you don't have children. Well, they may have a kid in heaven. You don't know that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
or asking people, when are you going to have children? They may have been trying for 6 years to have kids and can't, and are dying in the inside because of that. So some of these assumptions that we make, and place upon people, we should try our best to not to make those assumptions. Mother's Day is going to be coming up in May. Be very sensitive to people who you don't have children, because even individuals who may have never experienced infant loss, may have mothered so many kids and have loved them with everything in the inside of them, and to discredit them and the love that they have, is very unfair. And so we just should be very sensitive about what and how we say things to people.
That's a very good point. I never thought about that. For women who are trying to have children and Mother's Day come around, that's gotta be painful.
Very painful.
I've
Very painful.
never I never thought about
Very
that.
painful. It was very painful for me. Very painful. Very painful.
Wow, never thought about that. Or Father's Day.
Yeah,
I
for
ain't
Father's Day for
discount
the
you
guys.
daddies either. Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Never thought about that. I'm sorry
Yes.
to all you mothers out there that's a mother at heart.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a mother at heart.
Because I mean, we don't think about that. There. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's normalization of society. Just certain things, very well intended, that happens that we do, and we just don't think about that woman that's trying to conceive, or maybe she's not. Maybe she's 35, 40 years old and never been married.
Mm-hmm.
And she's never been married, so she's never, and she saved herself all of the good stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
yet still that did not uh, uh, um, quiet her desires to be a mother. That's why she's over the young people, and that's why she's doing
Right.
all of this stuff,
As
because
part of Sunshine Band and the young people's choir. I'm like, why are you just doing all the young people stuff? Oh, I
yep.
can't do it.
Yes, because they're possibly living out a part of their life that they
Mm-hmm.
cannot birth in real life, as far as biologically. And so
Mm-hmm.
just need to be very considerate of that. There's something that people used to say to me all the time, because I had my niece for a while, and I loved her just like I love my daughter right now.
Mm-hmm.
And people would tell me it's different. It's going to be different. It's going to be real different. And it's not. Now that I have my own, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not. I loved her like she was my daughter. because she was my daughter, my
Right.
niece daughter, my sweet niece daughter. She was unique in that way. And my sister was sweet enough to share her with me. And so, and I have a daughter. I actually see her, my daughter in her, or her and my daughter. And so the love is the same. So I say that to say, uh, it's not the same. That's another thing that people should not say. It's not the same. You don't know what's in a person's heart. You really
Right.
don't know. And there are lots of adoptive families, foster families. That love is real. That love is
Yes.
absolutely real.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the term rainbow baby or
Yes.
rainbow child, because that's
Yes.
usually the baby that comes after a miscarriage or a loss of
Yes.
a baby.
After
Um,
tragedy, the
After
rainbow comes.
tragedy.
Yep.
Yes, the promise or the gift.
Yes.
Um, how now when your rainbow baby came, how far off was that from your loss of your baby?
It was about 14, 15 years.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Now, were you trying to get pregnant or
It
it
was
was
about
a
14, 15 years
surprise?
from the ectopic pregnancy. I've had a couple of other miscarriages at the beginning of our marriage. We've been
Really?
married for 6 years. Yes. And so I believe we had it had been a minute. And I was not attached to those miscarriages at all, not emotionally attached at all. And My pregnancy was very unique. I wasn't one of those, I'm so excited and just, it was not. I was very sick throughout the pregnancy, but because of my first loss, I
Mm-hmm.
detached from the idea of being attached to any kind of pregnancy,
Okay.
in order to protect myself and my feelings. And so, the other miscarriages that I had, I just was not attached to them at all. It did not have that kind of effect on me as the first miscarriage that I had, or type of pregnancy that I had.
Mm.
But it was very difficult. She was planned. She was planned. Like a year or so before, I started contacting doulas, because I knew I was going to need a whole army around me,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted professionals around me because I knew that I had not truly explored my feelings from that first loss, and so we did that. I had got tested and had a histopingogram to make sure that my tube was open. We did all the things and all the education and everything before we began to try to conceive. And there's some other aspects that my husband would have to share that he would feel comfortable with sharing
Mm-hmm.
within our journey to get pregnant with my daughter. But once we made it up in our mind that this is what we wanted to do, and I allow God to be God in my life, because sometimes we don't, we believe in God, but we don't always let Him be God.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
I decided to let Him be God in my life, it is. And I shared this before, and it's so funny, people. But he told me when I was ready to conceive. He told me when it was, and stuff, and we ended up being pregnant, and I knew pretty early because of my mood swings. I was just like crying, uh,
Hmm.
uh, and I'm not really one to truly cry. And so we were excited about it, but it was very difficult emotionally. Even choosing to be pregnant with another baby was very emotional, because I still was grieving in the inside, from the first loss that I had. Baby
Mm-hmm.
name would have been Elizabeth. Would have been Elizabeth, and so very difficult. Trying to conceive after a loss is a blessing, and it may be exciting, but it brings up other trauma,
Yeah.
um, for some parents, and it did
Fear.
for me.
Fear.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
fear of losing the baby, that could be
Mm-hmm.
part of it. I didn't have that fear. Well, I had those concerns going in, so I had a transvaginal ultrasound, advocated for that to make sure the baby was in the right place. Once the baby
Mm-hmm.
was in the right place, I didn't have that concern of losing the baby. That wasn't my thing. Plus, I had so many aches, pains, and strep B, and everything that else to deal with. My thing was the other kid, was just the other kid. I would sit down and in the chair that I purchased for Elizabeth, and just go back through that you're not here, type of a
Mm-hmm.
situation. Or
Mm-hmm.
even I never went as far a full conversation with God, but it would come, the baby that God chose to be here and the baby that God did not. I just would have moments,
Right.
and stuff. And so, and just grieving. My concern was fear of dying in delivery.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Um, that was my fear of dying in delivery. And
Really?
yes, really, because that was my situation. I almost died because of the baby being, moved out of my body. And so I had a true fear of dying in delivery. And so I wanted to make sure that I knew everything that I could know. And so I remember there was one doctor who was dismissive when I was going through the rotations of meeting all the doctors, and was very dismissive, and overlooked the fact that I had high blood pressure on that day. And I was like, that right there
Mm-mm.
was so many red flags, and
Those
and
triggered
just
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it did. It definitely triggered me seriously. And I called my doula up, and we just, I talked through it all, and we processed through it all, and just, got me to a good place, and to go back through the rotation and stuff. And so, for everybody is different how they handle being pregnant after a loss. Some people, they need to hear the heartbeat constantly, in order to know that the child is there, because of the situation, like maybe like your situation where there was no heartbeat at some point in time, and now you're thinking, I should have, I just thought the baby was just moved, it was just quiet and stuff. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, that was my thing, dying in in delivery. And to be honest with you, it's not necessarily a fear right now, but it's still very real, because African American mothers die at a
Right.
higher rate than their peers, for a lot of different reasons, and much of it has to do with unconscious bias. And so, so that is a reality for an African American mother, and other people of color are experiencing it as well. And so it's not off the table for me. It's just probably not as much of a controlling thing within my life.
And that brings me. When I had my third child, my daughter, I
Mm-hmm.
remember my water broke a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the doctor, I was like, I think my water broke some. And it was like,
Yeah.
no, that's impossible. I'm like, no, it broke a little bit because it was still kind of early. And they was
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I don't, that's impossible. I'm like, no, it broke a little bit.
Yeah.
So they did the ultrasound. They came back. They was like, it did leak. I'm like, I told you it leaked.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, but it's sealed back up. I'm like, I told you that's what happened. Why wouldn't y'all
Yeah.
believe me? Why would I make this up? So they put me on bed rest, and they said if I spike a fever, come back immediately. So about maybe 3 weeks later, I had like a fever, like 103 or
Mm-hmm.
some change. So I went back and they could not get my fever down. And it just so happened that it wasn't my doctor. It was like the emergency doctor that was like
Mm-hmm.
did me. And my doctor, who she was awesome, she was like, she was going on vacation. She was like, don't have this baby while I'm on vacation. I was like, well, don't go on vacation. She went on vacation, and sure enough, that's when I had to go back to the hospital. And when I went back, um, the doctor that she had uh, to watch me while she was gone was like, well, if we don't get your fever down, one of two things is going to happen. We're going to have to take your baby, or you probably just die and we'll just have to take the baby. And she laughed and walked out the room.
Oh no.
Me and my husband then looked at each other and was like, was that supposed to be a joke? I mean, if we just kind of sat there and was like, what, was she serious? Or, and then if she wasn't serious, that's not funny. But she was serious. And because St. Vincent, their motto is if we gotta choose, it's the baby. So it was just like, are you kidding me? So because you can't take anything like medicine wise down your throat when you're pregnant. So they had to give me Tylenol, you know, in the rectum or whatever to try to get
Wow.
my temperature down. And they got it down just enough. And my my daughter they finally got my cervix to finally started opening up to where the baby finally started to come. And she finally came out, but as soon as she came out, my fever spiked up again. So they had to take the baby away, and I couldn't see my baby for like 3 days. Because,
Wow.
but it was just like, why was that funny? It was just like, are you serious? But again, if we were thinking, we would have took different measures to that
Yes.
comment, asked for a different doctor or something. But if my regular doctor was there, that wouldn't have happened.
Yes.
But yeah, so yeah, it just again was it because we were a black couple, maybe.
Maybe. Maybe. You
Or-
know.
who knows?
You know.
It
I.
was
I
it,
really. It's bias, no matter
it,
what it is. You
yeah,
know. It's bias, and its bias is dangerous in medicine.
yeah.
And so um, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. And I know the word racism is very alarming to some people, and the term unconscious bias, it seems to be a little bit easier to digest. But at the end of the day, if the outcome is the same, it doesn't matter if you are a well-intended person that that discriminated against somebody because of what's in the environment, and you were just going along with it, or whether or not if you are malicious or not. If a person's being harmed, that's what matters, is the fact that they're being harmed. So we have to cut it out. Unconscious bias, racism, all of that has no place in medicine. Every doctor signs up to do no harm to a patient,
Hmm.
and they really should hang up their coat if they can't adhere to that. And nurses and other professionals as well.
Hmm. Yeah, but again, it just goes to the fact of the fear of dying just from having a baby, just
Yes.
from, yeah. But so yeah, but with all that being said, I commend you on this work, especially on a subject that is really not really touched on or spoken up for.
No.
Because there is so many different aspects of racism on so many different levels that the and sexism,
Yeah.
and it's like a double tundra. I mean, to be a black woman and to be a black woman and to lose and to deal with that type of trauma,
Yes.
you
It
know.
is. Since I have started to talk about it and put myself out there, and sharing my platform sheet with uh, everyone who would receive it, people have been responding back and saying, sharing their stories, and I feel very privileged to receive somebody's story. But what really takes me back is when someone I know shares their story, and I'm like, I've known you for 10 years. I had no clue. This
Hmm.
is my sister. I mean, it just is baffling to me. Just I know it happens a lot, but to know that I don't have to search for somebody. I mean, I really don't have to search for people. It's several people, and it's across all ethnicities. And so that has been the biggest thing. Like, I reached out to someone to partner with them, and they were like, this will be great because we just buried our stillborn grandchild. And I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy.
Wow.
And we were reaching out, not even to talk about pregnancy and infant loss. I've been trying to intersect it with fitness and finance and everything else, because I believe in reaching the whole person. And each person that I felt led to say, hey, you want to partner with me on this, came back and said, this is really great because this is what we're dealing with. And I'm like, wow,
Wow.
wow.
Because it's sad, because I could probably name, I will not, but I could probably name 3 people right now
Yeah,
that I know has
yeah,
either had a miscarriage
yes,
or have had 2 stillborns.
yes, yes,
And it's, they have to go through this, and I don't know if they got the psychological help they needed to go through it. They just got to go through it
yeah, they
and deal
do.
and just deal with it and with internally, and probably don't even realize that this is something. And I hate to say it, they probably for the first time are just finding out about my story
Yes,
because I never shared it with them.
yeah. And to think that you could have been a great support to each other.
Yeah.
There is something about connecting with people who understand, to a degree, what you're going through. It makes it easier to talk to them, and also you just feel understood. And if you're crying, you're not looked at like you're crazy, or they don't say the crazy stuff to you, and it just makes it easier to get through. And so, with that being said, I highly encourage individuals, especially individuals within the African American community, to reach out for help. There's lots of help. I'm going to give a website. It's Amos Anchors. It's Indiana's website. Founded by a young lady, Kristen is her name, and she manages just out of her heart. She suffered loss as well. And so what she does is she lists all of the organizations throughout the state of Indiana, and she has national organizations as well for support groups, um, for a variety of um, different things that they may need, whether it's food, support groups, whether or not if you had a stillborn baby and funeral services are needed. There are photographers that give their services for free as well, where they will come in and they will take pictures. Indiana Cuddle Cot is one organization that provides I forget exactly what it is called, but the cuddle cot keeps the baby cool so that they can extend the life and give more time with the family. And so they just won't just take the baby right away. So there's lots of resources that are out there that can make this situation a little bit. I won't say easier, but to help you as you're going through it. And the thing about it is that we never know what we don't know, and we never know we're going to need something, because you could be in a hospital, like we talked about our situations, that will not give you a pamphlet. And so you have to know that this exists. And so I'm hoping that someone is listening that has never had a loss before, but they want to know this information so they can give it to someone else who might have a loss, or if they experience a loss in the future.
Amen. Um, I want to switch gears just a little
Yes.
bit.
Yes.
So, what is going on with you June 5th?
Yes. So June 5th, 2021, in South Bend, Indiana, will be the Mrs. Indiana America pageant. I will have the privilege of representing Central Indiana as Mrs. Central Indiana 2021. And actually we go down on June 4th, and then the pageant itself is on the 5th. And so I am very excited about the pageant. The pageant has a few categories. One is swimsuit, the other is evening gown, and then there is an interview. And then we also have like opening numbers and stuff like that we do the whole show. And so it will be a lot of fun, a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. Before the pageant starts, there will be an opportunity for people to vote for me. Voting has not yet opened. I don't think it will open until April, May. And so I will share the information with you when that time comes. I hope that people vote for me Whoever their favorite is. I hope I'm your
I'm
favorite.
voting.
I
I'm
hope you vote
voting
for
for
me.
you.
And let me tell you what voting does. So by voting for your favorite person, one that gives that person an award for being fan favorite. And there's another fabulous face is what they call it. But also the person who wins that is placed in the 7th position. So you will give me an edge in being able to win the competition. So that's why your vote counts.
I'm voting for you. You already
Thank
know.
you.
You
Yes.
already know. So what's your talent gonna be?
There is no talent. There is no talent. However, I don't know what it would be. Honestly, I haven't done it in a while, but I actually do spoken word as well, poetry.
Okay.
I come, I'm Generation X, and so we grew up in
Yes.
the household where my sisters and brothers, they danced, they rapped, we did all of it, and
Right.
so so I would probably do that. I could dance as well. I wouldn't be singing though. That's for the choir, only for the choir.
For the choir. Okay. So how can people contact you?
I am on Facebook at Mrs. Central Indiana 2021. Also on Instagram at Mrs. Central Indiana 2021. And my website is my name, TiereeReid.com. So you can find me there as well. So I hope that you connect with me and encourage me, challenge me. If you're going to connect with me on social media, message me, talk to me, help me to come outside of my comfort zone, because before the pandemic, I shut down Facebook. I had been off of it for a while, because that's not really my I'll say jam. Let me age myself. That's not really my thing.
That's
And
not a
so,
jam.
somebody said, one of my friends said it on Facebook, and now it's in my head. But challenge me to continue to step outside of my comfort zone and to talk to you, and not just about pregnancy and infant loss, but about whatever is going on with you, because social media needs to be more than just the negative things that come up our timeline and stuff. Let's laugh together. Let's enjoy life together. So
Amen. Amen. Yeah, I get tired of news feeds and all that. I'm like, can y'all put some ha ha on here, please?
yes, please do. Let's lighten up some
Jesus.
stuff. Let's lighten up some
Amen.
stuff. So
All right. Well, are you ready for your last question?
okay, yes, all right, for my last question.
Okay, now on the show, your last question was who would you have play you?
Yes.
Okay, because that was a visual show. Now this is a listening show, so this
Okay.
question is a little different. Now, if you could have any song be your theme song when you walked into a room, what would it be and why?
Okay, I'm the person that whatever comes to my head. So what came to my head was I'm a survivor.
Okay.
Um and that truly is me. That definitely is me 100%. Yep.
Okay. You talking about Destiny Child? I'm a survivor, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I had to make sure. I'm like,
Yes. 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 Yes.
okay. All right. So you doing the whole video in your head? Just what
Yeah,
when
the
you
video
heard that
came in my
song?
head too. It did.
Okay.
It did. It did.
Okay.
Like soon as you said it, I started. My hand went up in the air, and I started singing it. And so I was like, "Well, I got to commit to it since it came in my head."
Okay. Gotta fully commit. Well, I cannot thank you enough, and we are definitely gonna stay in touch, and we're gonna stay
Yes.
connected, and which means you're gonna be back on both platforms, cause we're gonna celebrate your win,
Yes. Amen.
and you can make your daughter upset with your crown on again.
Oh my goodness. Like, mommy, what you doing? You doing the most? What's that? Where's mine?
Okay, you can give her the crown you have now when you get your bigger crown.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Tieree, for being on the show. I cannot tell you how honored and proud I am to have you on my show. And I cannot wait to see all the great things that you're going to do. And most of all, I can't wait to say that you won your crown. And if you would like to be on Worldly Church Girl, click the link below, shoot me an email, and let's see what we can do with that thing. And did you know? Worldly Church Girl has gone live. You can catch me on Facebook, YouTube, and even on Twitch. All you gotta do is type in Worldly Church Girl, and bam, there I am. And if you haven't done it already, hit that subscription button so you will never miss another episode. And as always, thanks for joining your one and only Worldly Church Girl.